Hi everybody, this is Marcus Anthony, and today I figure I'd share my thoughts on someone who you might have heard of, you might have not. He is, the one in charge of the 7 baby steps. You might have heard of him. His name is Dave, not Chappelle. No. Dave Portnoy? No. It's Dave Ramsey, okay? He is considered the financial guru for people who are struggling with their finances. They don't know where to start, and they might be in really bad shape with debt, and they just need to get going somehow. So there are some things that I agree with him on, and some I really don't agree with him on. So I just wanted to show you guys where he's coming from. If your thoughts align more with his, then you can go with him and follow his steps. But I just want to show you that there's a resource out there if you are looking for someone to turn to. So he has this thing called the 7 baby steps. And just real quick, I'm going to go through them all. But first, if you could please leave a like on the video, that would really help out with the YouTube algorithm. Get these videos out to as many people as it can. And if you agree with what I'm talking about, or if you want to ask me a question about Dave Ramsey, go ahead and leave a comment and I'll get right to him. I'll reply to everyone that I can. And if you like what you see and you want to come along for the journey, go ahead and leave a subscribe and come along. So without further ado, let's get into the baby steps. Baby step number 1 is save up $1,000 for your emergency fund. That could be used for any type of emergency that comes up. It could be utilities, a car repair, something that is very it's an emergency. You don't want to just spend it on oh, I feel like having dinner out tonight. No. This is just for emergencies. Step number 2 is get out of all debt except for your mortgage as soon as you can. Now, I would tend to agree with that because debt eats away at your bottom line. But anyway, I'll go into in depth on each of these later. Step 3 is increase your emergency fund. That $1,000 that you had, you want to bump that up to 6 to 8 months of expenses so you can be more prepared for a longer term. And then step number 4 is investing 15% of your gross income into your retirement account. So, that's self-explanatory. Step number 5 is save up for, put money aside for your kids' college if they do decide to go to college or whatever. This might not apply to a lot of you because you might not have a kid. I mean, you might just be right out of high school or going to college, but just know that that's a step that is in there if it applies to you. Step 6 is pay off your mortgage as soon as you can, and get rid of that mortgage, that monthly payment that's eating at your bottom line. Get rid of it. And then finally, step number 7 is once you've done everything else before that, step number 7 comes along, and that's when you just put a lot away into your retirement, other investments, real estate, what have you, and then give what you want. If you want to give to a charity, go for it because you have the means to do so. You're not having to worry about your own financial struggles at that point. So my thoughts on step number 1 are, I agree with it. I think $1,000 is great to start, and that gives you a little win in your head mentally. A little confidence booster. Set a goal for 1,000. You got it. Sweet. Now time to go to the next one. And then that leads us to step number 2, getting out of debt. It is so imperative that you do that. If you have a loan or if you have credit card payments that you have to keep contributing to them, get rid of all those payments and be responsible with what you're doing, what you're spending on. Get out of debt. And then instead of, let's say you're in credit card debt and you need to be paying off $500 a month towards your credit cards. As soon as you pay that off, you already budgeted for that $500 to go off somewhere. Now that $500 can go off to investments or to your emergency fund. So it's super easy to build on top of each other. And, if you have a lot of debts, like credit cards, student loans, people might have 3 or 4 or even more credit cards that all have balances on them. You need to pay that off. And Dave Ramsey goes into further with this with what's called a debt snowball. We can get into that on a later video. I'm just talking about the baby steps right now. So step 2, I agree with it. Pay off your debt, get it done with. So step 3 is saving up for a down, I didn't mention this before, but it's like 3A and 3B. Say step 3A is putting aside 6 to 8 months of your expenses for your emergency fund. $1,000 is not gonna cut it. If you lose your job, like that $1,000 is gonna be good for an actual emergency, just a one-time little blip. Good to take care of that. But what happens if you lose your job? That $1,000 isn't going to do anything for you. You need 6 to 8 months so that you're not that stressed out about getting a job, and it's just there for a peace of mind, honestly. So step 3B is, I didn't mention it earlier, but it's saving up for a down payment on a house. It's very important. Down payment's extremely important. I didn't know that until I got into looking at our own house. My wife and I, we recently bought a house, 4 months now. So we didn't know how much a down payment would be, and it's quite expensive if you're not prepared for it. Dave Ramsey likes to say that you want to save up 20% for your down payment to avoid the private mortgage insurance, which is the PMI. And that's just a little extra that is tacked onto your mortgage that it really doesn't do anything for you. So it's good to save up that much, but there are a lot of housing loan programs that you could put 3% down, even less if you wanted to, depending on the program and your income. You could qualify for one of those. So I kind of agree with saving up 20%, but if you need a house, you got to get into something. So especially if there's a hot market and it's super competitive, you just need any way to afford a house, you need to be able to get into a house. So I kind of agree with the emergency fund part of it and the down payment, but not so much how much of a down payment you should save up for. So step number 4 now is investing into your retirement. Now, Dave Ramsey, he likes to talk about 15% of your gross income, which that's cool. I would prefer bumping that up, especially if you went through steps 1, 2, and 3. You've already got your emergency fund set up and you already have a down payment set up. You're out of debt. Why not invest more into your retirement? Especially if you're, like I said in my earlier videos, if you are younger and you can afford to start saving up for retirement, what are you waiting for? Compound interest, let that do its work, and you can just sit back and reap the benefits from it. Sooner you start, the better. And the more you start up front, the more that'll grow. So 15%, in my opinion, that's too low. Right now, my wife and I were able to save up a little more than 15%. I want to bump that up higher and higher as we get more income. But right now, as an average income, around 15%, a little higher. That's where I like to be, a little higher than 15%, honestly. So step number 5 is saving up for a college fund for your kids. Now, my wife and I, we don't have a kid, and we don't have any intention of having kids in the near future, maybe years down the road, but we have time to figure that out. And I do think that setting up a college fund is very important. My parents are awesome, and I was able to get out of college debt-free because they set money aside for my brother and I to do so. And eternally grateful for that. But that is extremely important to set your kids up on the right spot moving forward when they're going through college. So with that, we can talk about that later. That I'm not very knowledgeable, to be honest, about what kind of college savings funds there are and what that looks like. But I could learn more about it, and we could do a video on that in the future if you guys want me to. And the one thing about a college fund is it's there if your kids need it. A lot of kids don't want to go to college. They might go to a trade school. They could start their own business. They can do all these different things, and that money can go towards those things. So you're pretty much giving your kids a graduation present saying, hey, here's all this money. You can start a business, go to college, what have you, make a wise decision on what you plan on doing with this. Step number 6 is paying off your mortgage. My dream is to not have a mortgage. I know there's tax benefits. You can write off property taxes on your, when you file. That's fine and dandy, but someone with an average income, To be totally honest, our mortgage payment isn't very high. It's around $1,200 a month. It's not too bad. There's a lot of people who rent, especially in California, in New York, anywhere where there's a high rental rental fees and everything. So a lot of people have higher rent than our mortgage, but I want to get this thing paid off as soon as I possibly can. And we can go over strategies, do that in the future. But I totally agree with step 6 is having that gone. That $1,200 that my wife and I are paying right now, that could go straight to investments. Instead of saving up 15-20% for your retirement, that could be bumped up just from that. That could be bumped up to like 35 or 40%. It'd be massive, and you could retire even earlier if you can just get rid of that mortgage. And in the future, when you do retire, if you're still in your same house, you're not paying a mortgage. So you get more, there's more income that you can do more with instead of just paying off to somebody else. $1,200, you've already budgeted for that to go bye-bye. It's gone away. You can budget for that to go straight to your investments without any problems because you've already been able to live your life for years just having that $1,200 not be there. So you already have that right mindset. Just put that towards, just keep paying off that mortgage, but have it going towards your retirement instead. That's my suggestion anyway. So now we get to step 7. There can be some confusion on step 7. Build wealth and give. That can mean a whole bunch of different things. The building wealth part, easy. But how are you supposed to give at this point? If you have a lot of income and you feel like, okay, I want to spend some of this income, help someone else out, go for it. I mean, your money, whatever you want to do. But Dave Ramsey believes in tithing. I'm not going to go on a tangent about it. Tithing is when you spend 10% of your gross income. Let's say you make $1,800 a paycheck. That $180, that's going to somebody else. A church. That's what a tithing is. It's a contribution to a church, and it's every month. And it's just going away. And why would you spend $180 on a church? For all you religious people out there, there's a thing called volunteering. You don't need to give money. That money, who knows where it's going to go? There's a lot of stories in the past that money's going towards pastors, and these pastors are buying houses, beach houses, cars, so many unnecessary things. I mean, hell, there's private jets that are being bought by these pastors. I don't know about you. I don't want my money to go to them so that they can buy another private jet. So I want that money to go to me so I can decide what to do with it. I don't want to tithe, nothing like that. To me, in my opinion, my eyes, that is so stupid. Religions, you guys can volunteer. All you religious people, you can volunteer. Super easy. Work at a soup kitchen. Volunteer there once every week. There's so many things you can do. Donate clothes, set up a food drive. There's just so much you can do that doesn't revolve giving your money directly to the church without you knowing where it's going to go. So step 7, I would agree, build wealth, of course, and then giving. It depends on your giving and what you plan to do with your money. With that, do not do anything with your money like giving it to someone else and you don't know where it's going. That's not financially responsible. I'm telling you that right now. Don't do it. Please. For the love of God, no pun intended. But anyway, that's all I've got for you. My wife and I are at baby step 6, just letting you know. Working on paying off that debt. So anyway, that's my video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to, if you're interested to see more, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.